Raz.
A jest już ten kilka? Dobra, to jest najwyżej.
Okej, witam na dzisiejszym spotkaniu Blockchain Meetup, to już 7. nasze spotkanie. Dzisiaj wyjątkowo mamy dwie prezentacje w języku angielskim. Pierwsza z nich będzie prezentowana przez Kamila Przelewskiego i jest to Introduction to Expertise. Kamil, oddaję Ci głos.
Po angielsku? Czy po polsku oddajesz? Okej, do tego. Hello? Okay, so I will use English for my presentation. So, hello, my name is Kamil. I am a co-founder of Expertise. We are here in 3 people, Greg and Matt. Yes, exactly. So, I'm just curious, who knows or visited at least once our website already? No, okay, almost no one. Okay, and who don't know anything about the project, and even who is totally new for this? Okay, no, that's good. Okay, so Expertise is basically an application very similar to WhatsApp or Skype. The only difference is that we using blockchain for calculating, for sending Ethereum or Expertise tokens in order to exchange your time, knowledge, and expertise. So basically, if you are an expert, you can use this application in any place in the world to sell your knowledge on the global market. And this is very revolutionized because we're trying to make the economy more efficient in the long run, in the long term, and on the global scale. To explain what kind of potential we're trying to tap in is that we use very often we use like comparison to Uber, what did for transportation economy. So people after full-time work can drive Uber and basically make additional money and be productive, and people who are looking for drives can get cheaper rides around the city. And the similar stuff is with Airbnb. So, and we want to transform the global economy, but there is one more piece that we're using blockchain underneath. So, there is like 2 billion people who don't have access to any banking account, like global access to global transactions and on any PayPal accounts. So basically, our goal is to make the whole world more productive. So for example, if you want to learn Spanish lesson, you will be able to call an expert in Spanish teacher in the middle of nowhere, let's say in the middle of, in the village somewhere in the suburbs of Colombia or whatever. So someone basically will be able to sit next to the Kilimanjaro where there is no banking services, and will be able to start selling the knowledge about how to climb to Kilimanjaro on the global market, and everything settles down automated. So the same way, like when you go into Uber, you don't need to worry about payments. The same with Expertise. An expert sets his own rate, and everything is done automatically, and we also make sure that there are some refunds policies on the blockchain. So we also outsource the refunds policies to blockchain, and basically our company doesn't keep any money. You keep your own private key. I will try to play an explainer right now, maybe.
To exchange knowledge over the internet using various calling apps like Skype or WhatsApp. in with knowledge. The solution would be a decentralized calling platform that allows recipients to get money directly from the calling person based on the conversation time. Introducing Experty, a blockchain-based Skype-like calling application. Exchange your knowledge for money on the global market. Knowledge providers set their minute rates, share their Experty profiles with advice seekers via email or social media, and get paid for every minute of your time spent on a consultation call. Experty doesn't need banks or third-party services, since the transfer happens automatically using cryptocurrencies. Use cases include legal or medical consultations, business advice, contacting popular bloggers, YouTubers, or talking to professors during online courses. Influencers reaches their audience by sharing their call links over website, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or email. Experty empower people worldwide and democratizes the digital consultations market.
Okay, so everything is much more clear now. Okay, and we can continue. So our team is over 10 people, right now 15. 10 are developers, and around 5 people are like marketing, public relation team. And we in the past were like JavaScript, React consultants. We are from Gliwice, and basically we try to fix to solve our own problem, because like we started doing React development and quite quickly in 2014, and basically after down the road we started doing different okay, so we basically were doing different stuff online, like writing articles, writing books, and basically people started asking us. So we got like a lot of people asking us about stuff, and we were trying to find a Skype-like application where you can automatically build. And because we are like so passionate about blockchain and crypto in general, we decided to use also this technology, because we believe like this is like in the next year there will be like huge opportunity, yeah, to make the whole economy, global economy, more productive, even beyond the West world, like Germany, US, and so on. Like, there are many more people who can benefit from these technologies. So yeah, we use blockchain to the rescue also, so we don't keep the finance. So what is the problem? So problem is basically that advice seeker is looking for a specific knowledge, and it's struggling to find an expert online, because like when you find an expert and someone is known online, probably he shares at the moment like an email, maybe something, not too much. So the idea is that even if someone is very popular and even a celebrity or something, and you want to contact him, that person can give you access to them instantly after they use expertise. And on the knowledge, yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, so the knowledge provider basically have no incentive to share the phone numbers, and basically we want to make these two parties to connect more easily and more efficiently, because currently we believe that there is huge waste in the global economy, because people, even if they want to contact someone, they aren't able to reach them. So idea is to create like widely used application that you can share your calling link or online, and any stranger can call you and you can share your knowledge. So you can be even more productive after your full-time work. And this is also why we believe like the opportunity is similar to like what did Uber or Airbnb, because we will make more efficient and more productive people who, on the other hand, don't have possibilities to give what they know to other parts, to other people. And okay, so Why we use blockchain at all? So the idea is that not currently, if you want to do any kind of consultation online, you need to do at least upfront payment. So then you putting your money at risk, that you don't get what you want. You can pay after consultation, but then a knowledge provider is providing or third-party services like. But this is there are also some drawbacks, and usually they charge much more for those kind of services, like Uber charges 25%. So we plan to make it much more efficient in terms of cost-wise, and we don't store people's money, so there is also no risk that the company will disappear and run with your money because you did the payment. Also, very big regarding here why we use blockchain is that the benefit is that you receive money directly after ending the call. So usually, if there are any kind of services that they put some kind of minimum payout. And we don't need to do this because everything is automatically settled down on the blockchain. And so we build it like if you have access to blockchain, basically you can sell your knowledge and exchange that for the cryptocurrency. So we build it like fully decentralized paid calling platform. And as it was on the explainer, you set the rate, you share the link, calling link, and it is like cross-platforms application, so it will be available on the web, on the mobile, and on the desktop. So yeah, I was talking about this already. So basically, we believe like the biggest thing that why expertise has such sense is that knowledge like blockchain has no borders, and basically we want to bring the cryptocurrency and blockchain technology to the regular people who don't care really about what is Bitcoin and so on. So we want to build the application which will be very easy to use, and in future people will install expertly, and because they want to call someone on the other part in the world, for example, but they will end up with the wallet, cryptocurrency wallet in their pocket. So our mission is to encourage cryptocurrency adoption. And yes, so there are like many different use cases, lawyers, medical consultants, programming, business advisors, professors, webcams, and so on. And we focus in the first year just in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. And basically this is our goal to make this application highly recognizable and known in the crypto community in the whole world. So we target in first year just influencers in crypto. So people who have channels on YouTube about crypto and so on. And we and companies like Bitcoin Swiss we are working with, or other known companies to make some kind of consultations around this technology. So the very important part is that we don't create marketplace. We create a link that you can share everywhere, and we in the future want also to integrate this technology and this technical stack with other. So we believe like we can also build in the long term SDK that you will be able, if you have like website like I don't know LinkedIn will be able to use our SDK to add additional functionality to their website. So the developers will have flexibility. So to summarize use cases, you can use email, you can monetize your LinkedIn. So if you have a lot of spam from recruiters, you can try to monetize it. You can basically any kind of social influence. We see like YouTubers can use it quite easily. This is my profile on Quora. So on Quora, this is why I have like over 1 million views on Quora. So people were contacting me. So I realized that I'm writing on Quora for free. Of course, we have some business for our React clone company. But there is like many people who have like 5 minutes questions, and they would be eager to pay me, I don't know, $30 for 5 minutes, because it will save them like 3 hours of work if they will call an expert. So everyone is winning. I am making in 5 minutes or 3 minutes $30, and other people solve their problems. Otherwise, they will spend 1 day or 2 days. So everyone is winning on that situation. And we see also that it can be used by charity in the future. So Lewandowski or Ronaldo can use it to raise money. So instead of asking people directly, like celebrities, hey, send me $1 million because someone is sick or has a problem, they can ask like Cristiano to talk to them, their fund and charge money. And at the end of the day, Cristiano talks 10 minutes, someone makes $100,000 and the charity go. And maybe they can make also additional money on top of this, just like they play in advertisement in TV. You see many like celebrities, so this. So we have a demo, yeah. Okay, I will play it. And the application will be live on Kovan network probably in less than 10 days.
And we'd like to show you our current version of the application. So present. Today is 13th of September, and here we have the two versions. One is iOS version, and the second one is Android one. On iOS you can see the initial screen of the application, and Android one has already logged in, created account, and there is a wallet created with total balance of 0.1 Bitcoin, and basically let us create new account, new wallet on the iPhone. Also we have here the Ether scan working on Kovan network because the project is currently on testnet. And we back to the phone. So after creating wallet, I type the name. Let's make it for Greg. Greg is developer, so let's write dev here. Here rate per minute, let's use the standard one, 0.03. And languages. Probably I can save now. Okay, so profile is updated now. And let's go to the wallet itself. And on the Android, I will add new contact. I will scan wallet, and I can scan his QR code. It was found and added successfully. So now I have Greg on my list. And since I have funds on both of my contract and the wallet, I can call Greg here. So I can see his address and rate, profession, and what he can help you with. And after clicking call, Greg is receiving the connection. So he can accept. I can turn on the speaker and probably you can hear something. Right? Is it hearable? Okay. I'm not sure about the video, but you can definitely hear it. And after finishing the call, you can see that Greg earned like 0.0009 ETH, and I was charged the same amount. And let's move here maybe to the Ether scan. So Greg can present the transaction.
Yes, so the transaction happened here, these two transactions. First was start code, yes, you can see it here. And second one was end call. Okay, here are the code few stuff like caller address, recipient address, and also how much address was sent here. It's in hexadecimal code encoded.
Okay, so maybe let's go back to the application. to my profile now, and under Manager tab, I can see that the balance is updated here. So right now my balance of the contract is missing the amount sent to Greg, and Greg on the other side, oh, here is 0, but I can probably refresh it here, and now I can see that he has the money on the contract. Basically, I think that's it. So we have, this is like a very early version of the application. So we have on the profile manager wallet and the mnemonic for restoring the keys. So it's working on command, so anyone to test like account without problems. And I think that's it for the demo. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so like to explain, we in Experty will not charge anything if you use Experty tokens. And if an expert would like to use Ethereum tokens, or in future we're even thinking about implementing it to this Bitcoin, we will charge like subscription based on the usage in Experty tokens. So in both cases, people will need to have Experty tokens because we are going to the ICO phase soon. You can check the website and register. Okay, let's go to the presentation now. Okay, let's go. Okay, so Greg will describe more technical stuff at the. Okay, you can do it now. Okay, come on. Okay. So because probably we don't have so much time and this is more interesting, I will open just the white paper because it's okay.
Hello, I'm Greg. I'm in Experty blockchain developer. Actually, right now Solidity developer because actually, is it working? It's fine. So I'm Solidity developer in Experty.io because we are creating this platform based on Ethereum, and I can explain here in few words how we are solving our problem. So the basic problem is we want to settle payments in the best possible resolution. So we want to charge for even every second of the call. But Ethereum blockchain have blocks every about 15 seconds. It's like average. It's not actually every block. It's not delayed equal 15 seconds, but it's average. So we decided to create some mechanism. Here's flow, how it's working. We decided to create a mechanism like we are assigning the time of the call outside the contract, and in contract we are using a function which is designed to check this signature. It's called EC recover, which is elliptic curve recover, something like this. And using this, we are able to solve this problem.
What problem? What is the problem?
Okay. What was the problem? Problem is to charge people for exact amount, like for every second. If call was like 1.5 minutes, with like 90 seconds, we charge for exactly 90 seconds. So we can also implement in future like variable stake of time. So you can start like first 2 minutes can be cheaper, and if you are talking to expert and he's providing you good knowledge, then you can continue, and after, for example, 2 minutes, the stake can increase automatically. Everything is done outside the contract. Contract is only checking if signature is correctly. So we don't need to keep this money. We don't need to build third party. Everyone can be done in contract.
Yeah.
So
Maybe explain also this part. So, because many people ask about bottleneck. So what are the options?
Yes, so right now, what we are implementing right now, for every call we will have 2 transactions per every call. So it's still not a perfect solution because, as you know, Ethereum network sometimes is very overloaded and it might be not, even this might be not enough. So in future we want to create some additional layer like Lightning Network or Raiden-like layer, and we want to put more stuff off-chain. This is
like people just need to go to on-chain when they want to withdraw money, yeah?
Yes. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Any questions?
Any questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, so okay, I will quickly just go through the next slide. So we have defined the summary, yeah, like we are calling application. The problem was described. So we want to make this application different than other marketplaces like, I don't know, Freelancer or other stuff like that. So we want to make it easy to integrate to other websites. We plan also to put some SDKs in future. So let's say after we resolve the technical problems with scaling, we can go to other bigger web players like Standelekash.pl and maybe propose them an SDK so people in Kenya can also, you know, consult something there. So the market is growing. Probably it's not interesting for you. And we have much bigger team, React Poland. This maybe I will show because there are not many. So maybe I will show also the website. Go through this because it will be more actual, more up to date. So if you go to our website, we just recently were on top 10 ICOs, so we're happy. Articles, so top 10 initial, so we are mentioned. And so if you go, you can find out who plans to use expertise. So this is not like random people, there are people who will use it and who are like in the blockchain space. And we're talking to many more companies. Here is probably the Omar, you can, he also is interested in using expertise. If you watch a lot of crypto videos, you know him. I know him very well. And what else? Here you can find like a roadmap. I don't want to go into details. We have like 15 people right now. All those people are working full-time, or most of them. Maybe just 2 like less than full-time. And we have like advisors on the project as well. And we have more things going on. Visit also our Telegram group to join and to discuss the community stuff here. So we have also Telegram. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
What is your mainnet?
Mainnet is on Ethereum. No, we plan to make it live on January if there won't be any bigger problems from the security standpoint, because it's very easy to make a software, but it's very hard to make sure that you can show it to people and they won't lose money. But so we will have like many security audits. Basically, the software will be downloadable on testnet in few days, less than 10 days on Android, and we plan to do mainnet on January.
Does it also depend on the like the testnet problems or something? When the problems occur, that it will last longer, or Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean more likely like on security audits and people trying to hack it, because we need to hire people who will hack it. Yeah, so yeah. Okay. I am around, so and Greg.
Maybe you don't have any questions? This is the part I have to ask him about something.
Here's one.
Okay.
So, are there any similar initiatives like yours in the market already, or we are the first one?
Like we are the first one for sure. I was in US for a few weeks, over a month. I met like 2 people working on similar projects, but they had different scope. So we like, for example, there were some people who were like doing something with concerts and also charging for time. There was a guy who did, like, I don't know if you know, but there was a similar project, Google Helpouts. Like 3 years ago, Google even tried to do it, but without the blockchain. But we still see differences between the project from the past. So the biggest difference for us is that we are not a marketplace, and if you visited like 3 years ago Google Helpouts, they try to vet any expert, and we try to encourage people from the blockchain community who are influencers like companies. So if you like check those companies like Bitcoin Swiss or MME, these guys from MME, so that they are like in blockchain space for over 4 years and even longer, and they have like long waiting lines. So you need to wait a few months to get to them. So the idea is they will use it. And I think like there were for sure many. I talked to people. There was for sure many people who tried to do something similar. But I see like we try to do it very differently than them, like just by using the blockchain itself. And there is of course the 21.co, like get paid for your emails. So, but we still don't compete with 21.co, we're doing just different part. And we see like, and also as I said, we are not a marketplace. So our goal is to make the technology stable and create an SDK for bigger marketplaces so they can build something with our technology. So yeah.
What are the scaling problems you foresee?
What problem?
Scaling problems.
Scaling. So as like any project has scaling issues right now on Ethereum. The only problem now there is no really mass market successful product that can be used by anyone and anytime. But we like suspect that if we can bring our vision to win the cryptocurrency market in the first year, and so people like, we have very nice feedback from the market that people need it. The problem with all experts in blockchain is that there is like huge hype. So the problem is much bigger in our industry than in other, because in our industries most people who want to learn about blockchain and Bitcoin, they are new, and so there's not enough experts, so the problem is big. Yeah. So I don't know. Does it answer your question?
Not really.
So
Let's say this is on your part or outside on the market. There is a problem.
so there is problem in technology, but people are working on this. Developers are working. So that you see like many different projects like EOS, yes. Like other smart contracts. So Ethereum is the first one, and they're also working on a technology called Plasma. So Plasma is like an off-chain. So currently the biggest problem is that Ethereum is a state machine, so they keep any variable on the local copy of every computer in the network, and with Plasma. In Ethereum, and this is just a concept, so like Plasma is a concept for solving this issue on Ethereum, but there are other blockchains as well that are trying to create a new, totally new architecture. Because the problem with Ethereum right now is that they just made some architecture decisions like a few years ago, and other new project they have like blank sheets, so they can start something better from new. So there is like a competition. This is also why we have the XC token for this project, because we also want to keep it flexible. So if there is a better technology which will solve the scaling issues, which is scaling issues is basically that you can't make how many transactions per block?
In Ethereum?
Around 100.
Around 100, yeah. Yeah, so we can't make more than 100 transactions on-chain on Ethereum every 15 seconds or 70 seconds. So this is the biggest problem. And if this application is going to be used by 1 million people, you need like 1,000 times more. And of course, this is why Greg is mentioned also about off-chain. So we're thinking about off-chain, but we're also following other companies, what they do. So yeah, but basically the current version that will be available in a few days, it's all on, like start and end code is on chain, and the Ethereum needs to have capacity to handle. Yeah, if too many people at the same time will try to start the call, and too many people would like to end the call, it won't be useful, because people will be like frustrated because something's not working, but not because our software is not working, but because of the scaling issues that inherently Ethereum has right now.
I have a question. How about gas price? Because you thought that you have to make 2 smart contracts. How it look like?
So
I cannot answer.
yeah, like I will answer just one thing. So you need gas, yes. And yeah, maybe you Greg can explain, and if something missing, I will
I mentioned before we have 2 transactions per call, right? So first transaction is pretty important to start immediately. So we need to pay like market price. We need to check transactions in Ethereum and choose like bigger amount to put this transaction in first block. But second transaction is not much important, because if you don't plan to make another call after this, you can settle the second transaction like even 1 hour later or something like this. It will still work and charge expert seeker. So this is answer.
Yes, and the thing, we also, one of our developers implemented like automated systems, so you just top up the account, you see Ethereum balance, and will try to make it as easy as possible, so you don't need to manage on your own the gas. So you will top up and it will calculate automatically in the easy mode for beginners. Keep this amount on your wallet and this amount in the contract. But of course, there will be also advanced options. So we want to make this very easy to use. And I know like other projects trying to even not to have gas, like CTO of Stemit working now on EOS, and they have some other mechanisms I'm not sure about now, but probably there won't be any gas, I'm quite sure. So we're also evaluating this technology. We're just trying to learn about this. And so, EOS, try to solve it. I believe this year they will start the testnet at the end of this year. So maybe we will make also a demo next year about on EOS, how does it work. But currently we need gas, yes. There's no other way.
And what about ICO?
About ICO, so...
Details.
Pardon?
Details.
Details. Yes, so we got seed funding already in tokens to 2,500 Ethereum tokens, so we have funds. We're preparing now the pre-sale, and we're trying, the hard cap is to 33,000 Ethereum tokens, but we will have some bonuses to people. So the 33,000 hard cap is not like viable. We will probably be more closely less than 30k like the hard cap. So this is like total, and we plan to start the ICO on the 13th of December and the pre-sale earlier, but we will see how it goes. I mean, if you follow our project, we already postponed the ICO date because we want to make sure that we have ready. And basically, I also was talking about this with other people from this space. So they say postponing the ICO is also sometimes good because like Ethereum postponed 4 times, and this is like a true story. So like most people didn't know that, but they were like postponing 4 times the ICO. So it looks like good practice in that industry. Do not, if you're doing an ICO, don't rush because there are like many pieces together, like legal pieces, security pieces. Promotional pieces, so people trying to rush the ICO and then usually they fail. Any more questions?
How did you start and where did you get the money from?
So we have a company for over 3 years, and we are like crypto enthusiasts for 4 years, me and Greg. So it's a self-funded project. A lot of money we put before we got anything, like this seed fund. So yeah, so this is like self-finance product, and we have like already, before we started the project, we already had like 10 developers in our company. And we now basically transitioning from the software service, because we were doing like outsourcing for full stack development, and we are now moving all our developers to expertise, so we can make sure that we will bring the project much quicker than in comparison when we need to hire people, because we already have those skills and experienced teams on board. We know how to work each other. So yeah, but like you need if you start ICO. I heard the numbers that you need between 50,000 to $250,000 self-fund, and but it was like probably 6 months ago, because now it's much harder to bootstrap because there are much bigger competition, and some other people on other conferences they like there is a company called ICO Box, and they charge like 55 bitcoins or something. Flat fee, they help you to bootstrap your ICO, but they don't guarantee you the results. So I'm just advertising everything. I don't know them. I know like because I mean yeah, it's and I think Vitalik also had money from bitcoins before he did his own. Okay, I need to finish.
Teraz krótka przerwa techniczna na następnego prelegenta. Wychodzimy przez te drzwi tutaj i wracamy również przez te drzwi. Możecie się w międzyczasie częstować piwem.
Dzieci wyświetliło.
Postaram się. Dobra.
Rzutnik jest włączony, jest też włączysz, nie?
Tak.
ogóle nie integruje. Ja myślałem, że sprzedałem.
Najlepsze. Najlepsze
patrzyłem dzisiaj na internecie i pewnie
Jeśli prowadziliśmy wcześniejszego IT odnośnie tego, co robi to więc tak jak mówił, to już podał wszystkich pytań, już postaraliśmy się wyjaśnić takie coś, że nie korzystamy tylko z małego tylko działa tutaj bezpośrednio, czyli mamy logowanie już tak dalej, musimy przechodzić do małego pole, żeby robić było na slajdzie, mamy logo, ale tak,
Marta, przynieś koszulki.
Ja musiałam może 4 warstwy tego logo na i tych materiałów w internecie się zmniejsza po prostu, nie ma obcięcia.
Nie będziemy kanałem, tylko właśnie rozmawiamy na temat naszego Czy będzie generalnie tego czyli oni do to będziesz szedł refa i będzie funkcja.
Będzie 3 etapy na zrobienie pracy. Będzie jakaś flaga podpisana. Też będzie podpisana flaga. To jest chyba jak nie
na pewno nie może to być 100%, mi się wydaje, że ludzie będą wiesz, a zawsze będzie to.
Tak, ale właśnie dlatego, że to zakończyliśmy po angielsku, tak?
Jakbyś chciał to napisz do niego, to było tak, że zadzwoni do ja też czegoś, właśnie 30-owy materiał. Tylko, że czego się czy powinna być na wiedza to zanikowe. Tak, nie wiem, nie emocje. Będziemy się ścigać w filmiku, przeszła wszystkich.
Pierwsza jest to, żeby zawsze takie coś, tak? Czy już coś napiszą na łatwo nie
Podejmuję cię w stanie.
Są sprawdzenie na czy zastrzeżenia i
no, to jest tylko wypowiedzieć, ale ważne, że To nie jest dokładnie tak, jak będzie bo i tak tak, ale jak zawsze się
Słuchajcie, nie chcę wam przerywać tych rozmów, ale wracamy na miejsca. Zapraszam na miejsca siedzące.
Zapraszam. I jeżeli wtedy prawdopodobnie zaimplementujemy sposób tak, że przestanie się na rynku was, bo się dalej.
Michał, chcesz stać czy siedzieć?
Na stojąco.
Będzie miał połączenie było prawidłowe. Ten podpis może być połączenie jest właśnie wykładane na
Wracamy po krótkiej przerwie na drugą prezentację, również w języku angielskim. Drugim prowadzącym jest Michał Warda i będzie nam opowiadał o tym, jak stworzyć bota. Więc how to create a bot that will waste your ether. Michał, oddaję głos Tobie.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Is it okay? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So my presentation is how to create a bot that will waste your ether. I'm Michał Warda. I come from Warsaw. Here's my Twitter. This is the Twitter of my company, current company. I have a coconut on my head on this picture because I've just came back from Mexico from the DEF CON 3, the biggest Ethereum conference. So if you have any questions about it, I'll be glad to share a bit of insider knowledge from that conference and a bit of stuff that's going on in Ether. And I want to start with a few questions to understand the audience. How many of you understand what is blockchain?
I guess so.
Okay. And how many of you maybe participated in any exchanges? So, for example, trading tokens, buying anything on, even in real world, anything. Okay. That's enough. That's enough. I guess the crowd will talk each other out if we have any problems. One more thing, if anyone has any questions, be sure to ask them as soon as you think about them. So don't hesitate. I can stop during the presentation and answer questions. So I got into blockchain at the start of the year. After buying my GeForce 1080 Ti, I started mining Zcash. This is a cute gif of Doggis mining. And I bought the card for playing games, but I decided to use it to do other stuff, and prices for miners were so big that it almost returned its cost. And I've managed to accumulate some cryptocurrency while doing that. I started to then trade the Zcash coins into very different currencies. And that's when I found out about Ethereum. And not only did I invest in it, but I was also very interested in the technical part of it. So I've implemented a very simple project on Ethereum on the blockchain inside a contract. Who here understands what a contract is on Ethereum blockchain? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Okay, so I don't have a slide for that, but I'll try to explain it as quick as possible. So imagine that the blockchain itself is, in one sentence, a database. It's a database that you can write and read from, and to write to it, you need to have an agreement of all, at least 51% of the participants taking part and being a part of this database. So Ether is different by the fact that not only can you write stuff to the database, like to a normal database, you can write integers, you can write strings, you can write, I don't know, floats, whatever. You can also write code to the database, to Ether database. So for example, I can write code to the database that will invoke and take some actions inside of the database, like functions in SQL. It will do a part of code invocation itself. Oh, someone wants to grab a beer? So let's say that a contract is a part of code that's in the blockchain itself and that can manipulate the blockchain itself by us invoking those functions in this contract. So after buying a few of the tokens, I wanted to learn how to cash them out back to Ether, because I've invested in a few of those. I've had some successes on some of them. I had some terrible investments also. And exchanges like this, like Poloniex, one of the biggest exchanges in the coin world currently, I think #1 or #2 in terms of volume, works by you sending funds to the exchange itself, and then the exchange inside of it trades the tokens. So essentially the trades don't occur on every occasion, because, for example, how could you trade Ether for Bitcoin when the chains are not connected to each other? You can't, right? So there are entities that work joining those two blockchains and decide that if you want to give them, if you want to buy Bitcoins, you have to send Ether to Poloniex, for example, and then Poloniex will, and someone else send Bitcoin to Poloniex, and inside of the one wallet they have, for let's say one pool of coins, they decide who has how much of the coins there. So I don't have a graph for it. I guess a graph would help a bit about it. But let's say we get it. We get that to exchange on an exchange like this, we need to send funds to them, and they just work on all the money. And they have control over all the wallets, over all the stuff. They have the full control of it. So there are two basic ways to invoke trades on exchanges, and when it goes to every exchanges. This is from Wikipedia. An order book is the list of orders, manual or electronic, that a trading venue, in particular stock exchanges, uses to record the interest of buyers and sellers in a particular financial instrument. Oh, there's yeah. Sorry, technical difficulties. Perfect. This is an example of an order book inside Poloniex. So here, for example, we can see the pair BTC Ethereum, Bitcoin Ethereum, and to create for a trade to become successful, there needs to be someone that wants to buy stuff and someone who wants to sell stuff. And there are two ways for the trade to occur. One way is that someone wants to buy stuff and the other person decides, yeah, I want to buy from him. And the other way is someone wants to someone wants to buy stuff and the other person is saying, yeah, I want to sell to him. Or the other way is someone wants to buy stuff and the other person says, yeah, I want to sell to him. So essentially we have two different entities who want to find each other out and decide to fulfill each other's traits. Yeah. More technical difficulties. But exchanges like those had problems when it came to Ethereum trading because they weren't created to do so. They were created to trade outside of chains. So if, for example, like this pair, BTC ETH, cannot be traded inside of the blockchain itself, in one blockchain itself. It has to connect multiple blockchains for trades like this to occur. And I was interested in trading mostly ICO tokens that are created on the Ethereum blockchain itself. So essentially an ICO mostly, and this currently is created on the Ethereum blockchain and is essentially a token on top of a token. So when I said there are contracts, so parts of code that can parts of code embedded into the database, imagine that I can say that this part of code embedded into a database is a current currency itself. So we have Ether, which is a currency, and we have also a part of code on top of Ethereum blockchain, which is a currency itself and can have its own rules. So trading inside of the Ethereum blockchain gives us an opportunity to not leave it at all, to create trades on top of it. Am I kind of clear? Yeah, kind of clear? Okay. So as you can see, the main tab here on Poloniex is Bitcoin. The Ethereum is the second tab, and it still doesn't benefit from all the pairs on Ethereum being on the Ethereum blockchain itself. So yeah, and this is just to show it. And here comes Ether Delta, like my sticker here, which I got in Mexico from the creator. Ether Delta is essentially a contract, so a part of code which is embedded into the blockchain, which is an exchange itself. So just like Poloniex, you can have an exchange on top of built inside Ethereum that can handle trades between Ether and other currencies. So for example, OMG, one of the biggest, Omisego, one of the biggest off-chains currently being built, one of the highest volumes, is built on top of Ethereum. The ICO, the token, is built on top of Ethereum, and Ether Delta allows you to trade this token without ever leaving the Ethereum blockchain. And also Ether Delta, besides that contract, is a web interface to that. But as you can see even here, it doesn't work quite well. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes you have to wait a lot for the responses and stuff. The creator is working hard to do it, but the funny part about Ether Delta currently is that currently around 30% of all Ethereum transactions, even at this second probably, is from Ether Delta. So around 30% of the transactions is made through this console, through this Terra console. People are just using it. This is the biggest traffic creator on the Ethereum blockchain. So around 40 transactions per block. And EtherDelta also has an off-chain order book. So just like Poloniex has an off-chain order book, but to create an order on Poloniex, you need to have an account on the platform. You need to go to the API of Poloniex and create an order, and you cannot participate in the order, like buy it or sell it, without being also a different entity on the blockchain, on the Poloniex itself. So EtherDelta works differently. It has an off-chain order book, which is handled by the API provided by EtherDelta to lower the cost of transactions. The orders are being held on EtherDelta servers and are added to the blockchain by the person who wants to buy out the order. So essentially, we go to the API of EtherDelta, and when I want to create an order, like through this interface, I go like here. I want to create an order. I say the amount to buy, price, total Ethereum. I click buy, and this request is the only request on the whole website that doesn't go through MetaMask, through the chain itself, but goes to the EtherDelta API. The only thing is that I sign it with my key. So essentially, it's like an off-chain that is used to show that has also the state of my keys from on-chain. So when I create the order, when I want to participate in the order, for example, someone created an order for those PPT for sell, and I want to start the order. I want to buy someone who buy the order, the sell order someone created. I am the one who adds the order to the blockchain because I am the person who's creating the order, who's participating in the order as the first person. Thanks to that, it's free to create an order, but yeah. So essentially, this is the stuff here. So the main differences between those exchanges are that traditional exchanges are fast and are not dependent on blockchain speed. Transactions can be real time. So for example, if I see an order and I want to buy it, I click buy, and if I have the funds, I click yes, I want to buy. I'm sure I want to buy. I get it basically instantly because Poloniex itself doesn't depend on any chain. So in a matter of 0.3 seconds, when the call goes through API through the Poloniex backend, I have the part. Went through the trade. On the other hand, on the decentralized exchange, it's impossible because the only way to create transactions is going through the chain, and because the chain takes every 15 seconds approximately, the updates can't occur faster. So for example, if I want to buy someone's selling trade, I have to wait around 15 seconds to be sure it passed. And that's one thing. The traditional one has low costs. It only costs provisions. So for example, if I participate in a trade, I pay a 0.0025% fee for participating in the trade. On the decentralized one, you have high costs because you also have to pay for gas. And you have to pay for gas fees even if the trade failed. So for example, let's say I see a sell order. I want to buy those tokens. So I buy tokens for my Ether. I create a trade. The trade goes through blockchain. And in the meantime, before my transaction goes through blockchain, someone else buys out those tokens because he paid more gas, for example, or he traded before me. And because of that, my trade fails because the transaction was impossible to finish. Yeah. So you have to pay. If you click the button to accept, you pay the gas fees, and no matter what. If the trade passes or not. The third thing is that traditional exchanges are proprietary and the code is closed. In terms of the centralized, Ether Delta is fully open source. The centralized are prone to attacks. There was like few times when an exchange was hacked. It's practically impossible to do it on Ether Delta because it's as safe as the blockchain itself. So if you manage to hack the blockchain, you should attack Ether Delta because it's the biggest token holder on the blockchain currently. It's around, let me see here, like 187 millions worth of tokens and like 16 millions worth of Ether, even more. Like, this doesn't show all of it because there are parts of contracts. Yeah, but there's a lot of tokens there. And so if anyone wanted to hack blockchain, he should start from Ether Delta contract. Here, one entity decides what can we trade. The major point, I was to a presentation in Mexico of the creator of Ether Delta, like 50% of people answered in the answer to him that they decided to use Ether Delta because they can trade whenever they want. On Polonix, for example, this list of tokens here is decided by the administrators of the website. So when I want to participate in an ICO, like Expertee, will it be released as an ERC20 token?
Greg,
will be ERC 223.
Basically, yeah, but it's backwards compatible. So, for example, if I wanted to buy or sell the token, I would need to wait for the administrator of the website. On Polonix, for example, I would need to wait for the administrator of the website to, like here, add the token to the market. And on Ether Delta, if it's ERC20 compatible, like for example this token, I can trade it instantly. As soon as I get it and it's tradable, I can trade it with whoever I want, wherever I want, whenever I want. So it's like you get the freedom, you have the money, you can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to wait for like a third-party service. And there's also a problem, obviously, here with when we can withdraw funds. There's like many topics on every forum regarding cryptocurrencies about, like Polonix like scammed me, or like BitTrex scammed me because I gave them 2 bitcoins and they're still holding it, and I decided to like pull it out yesterday and I still don't have them yet. That happens on those exchanges when you have full control over your tokens. They're on the contract, you're not dependent on a third party in any way. Yeah. And there's one more difference, and this is the key difference that's like the main point of this presentation. In a traditional exchange, there's a matching engine. And the matching engine, essentially what it does is matches 2 transactions together if there's a negative spread. So an order matching system matches buy and sell orders for a security or on a stock market, a commodity on commodity market, or matching other types electronically traded officials instruments such as futures contracts. And this is the key difference, because if you don't have a matching mechanism, automatic matching mechanism, there is a possibility for a crossed book to occur, and the crossed book is where we make our money. Because when the order book is part of a matching engine, orders are matched as the interest of buyers and sellers can be satisfied. When there are orders where the bid price is equal or higher than the lowest ask, those orders can be immediately fulfilled and will not be part of the open orders book. If this situation remains due to an error or a condition of the market, the order book is said to be crossed. And what this essentially means is that if, for example, we have a BTC ETH, someone wants to sell one ETH for 1 BTC, then the price is 1 BTC. Someone wants to buy one ETH for 1.1 BTC, so the price is 1.1 BTC. So essentially, buy price is higher than sell price. If we take part in both of those trades, we can buy one ETH for 1 BTC, so take part in the first trade. That's why it's red, because we buy the sell order, we sell the buy order. We buy one ETH for 1 BTC and then sell one ETH for 1.1 BTC, we get profit. And this is what most of the exchanges make money on. The matching system is essentially the biggest income for all the traditional exchanges. And because we are on the blockchain and the order book is off-chain, there is no possibility for a system like this to exist on EtherDelta. And that's why we create a bot to do that. Yeah. So essentially what our bot is supposed to do in our version 1, which took 1 day of coding, is try to find a situation when we have crossed books through inside EtherDelta by, for example, here I use Amisago, so OMG. So we buy OMG for 1 ETH, and at the same time we sell 1 OMG for 1.1 ETH. And our wallet, thanks to that, is 1.1 ETH should be, sorry, and 1 OMG, and minus the gas cost. But this implementation had its problems. There are 2 problems essentially, because we need to have both currencies on our wallet. We need to have both OMG and ETH to participate in a cross book like that, which is suboptimal because currently like the bot is working on around 50 different currencies, and I don't have that much money to have all of those currencies stacked up to participate in all those trades. And also, if we fail any part of the trades, we get stuck with one problem that we buy 1 OMG, oh, this is also wrong. It should be 1 OMG and 0 ETH. No, 2 OMG and 0 ETH, sorry. So I would get 2 OMG, would have 2 OMG, and be left with 0 ETH. This should be spot, sorry. Because I've managed to buy, but I didn't manage to sell because, for example, someone paid more gas before me to trade. And those situations were a problem for the first version of the bot, where it failed. So then we go to the second implementation. One of my friends, which is currently working with me, came to me and said that we don't have to do 2 trades simultaneously. We can create our own contract to communicate with that contract to trade money from other contracts. So essentially contractoception, yeah. Contractception, yeah, thank you. So essentially we can create a contract on the chain that will first buy and then sell in the same transaction. And if we do that, we are sure that even if any of those transactions fails, we are not stuck in situations where we have like only one currency left, and there is no possibility, there is no need to have this OMG because this OMG is never used. Because we buy 1 OMG for 1 ETH and sell 1 ETH for 1.1 OMG, which we just bought. There is no need to have any OMG in our wallet to participate in those trades. So this is the power of Ethereum. So if you're thinking, yeah, that's a cool contract, how should I communicate with it? You should think, yeah, I'm gonna communicate my own contract that is gonna use that contract, and it's like a web. And thanks to that, I went production with it very fast. I think in the first hour on LiveNet, after testing that it doesn't throw any exceptions, on LiveNet in the first hour it made 0.25 ETH, which is a lot, I think so. At that moment it was around $100, and maybe a bit less, like $75 an hour. There's more, that's more than I earn, like a lot more. So, you know, after an hour, I decided to sit, yeah, open the beer. No, I don't drink beer. Yeah, but it was, yeah, this is how it should work. Yeah, but there was a problem. In the second hour, it lost 1.4 ETH. And how it lost 1.4 ETH? It turns out that other bots were advanced enough to get rid of new bots. Because I wasn't the first person who thought about it. There were other bots, and those other bots were very mean to my bot. Yeah, but like I fell. I didn't have enough money to fight with those bots that already existed. Yeah, other bots had like mechanics to see if a new bot is participating in the trades, and if so, they created their own orders, which they bought out themselves. And thanks to that, with a higher gas cost, they were even like mean enough to pay to get rid of me, because they knew that if I get like losses after like fast, I get losses. I'm gonna leave the market so they can go with their provisions higher. And yeah, that's when I decided that there needs to be some improvements to the bot. I didn't give up as fast as I should have. So I added a layer that filtered trades that are too attractive and too big and too small and were created by non-humans. And by non-human I mean that were not created by that were created by bots, but not like not bots. Okay, and so thanks to that, we don't have to we leave the market here before like entering the minus gas cost. So I don't participate in trades, so I don't pay gas fees, so there's no problem. And the second bot made around 0.02 ETH in the first hour, which is successful for me enough, which wasn't like more than I earned, but good enough. Through first 24 hours, it made 0.2 ETH. But then I woke up at 5 a.m. because I was so excited about the new bot, and I made some changes to the code, and I bolted it up. I didn't even know I can introduce a race condition into JavaScript code, but it's possible. Turns out at 5 a.m. when you're excited about earning a lot of money. And I lost a lot of ETH. I'm not even going to show how much, but I lost a lot of ETH. So the only thing left is the v3. It's the current implementation that's working. There's a lot of changes that unfortunately I can't share because they're there are around 5 people in the world that are creating those bots currently. They were all in Mexico, so I've met them and talked with them and got some insider info. There's a lot of tricks in the bot world to not cheat, but change the state of the game to create our own rules that a new person is practically impossible to enter. So if you want to enter the bot world, please talk to me. I feel like I'm going to open source part of the code that was used in my bot soon. And I feel like there's a lot of knowledge on Ether that's being used currently to avoid paying gas fees, to lower the cost of the bad scenarios, because when it goes okay very well, you earn the money, that's no problem, but when you start fighting with others, it goes south pretty fast. And thank you. Good luck. Any questions?
Is it legal?
Yeah, it's legal. I mean, the matching mechanism itself is a good thing because everyone earns. The seller sells faster, the buyer buys faster, because if they created orders that cross, it means they want to trade fast, usually, or they made a mistake, but you gotta pay for mistakes. There are bots currently trying to trade, probably someone made a mistake with the zeros, because in Ether there are 18 decimals. So for example, you balls up, you don't create 18 decimals, you create 4 because you forgot, I don't know, whatever. You get a huge warning, don't do that, but you click accept anyway. Then a bot comes, pays around, I don't know, $300 for the gas cost, because he can. And he earns in one transaction around, I don't know, 10 Ether, because 10 Ether is $3,000 currently. So there are people who make mistakes, which might be victims of automatic stuff like this, but this would also happen in traditional exchanges. So when you create a huge, very, very bad trade, someone will buy it out. The system itself will buy it out because they want to participate in trades like that. Yeah, so the buyer buys faster, the seller sells faster, and I earn because I've matched those two people or bots or whoever.
How much do you earn currently?
You can track my wallets. I mean, it's gonna be hard, but you can track my wallets. It's hard to explain. The revenues fell down very, very much because the people that are working on it, there are people that are making profit on very, very small trades, which pay give you a couple of cents per trade. There are people who are in the range of a few dollars per trade of revenue. There are people who earn $1,000 for one transaction because they found this stuff like that. And if you're trying to participate in any of those, you can earn depending on that. I don't want to say there are tricks that can let you earn enough to come to a conference and even share this information. This information is public knowledge, but no one takes that. So I can't tell, sorry. Yeah?
How do you think how long it will be like this? Because when this kind of stuff is open for more and more people, there's bigger and bigger competition.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, it can be more tricky, and
yeah.
How long you expect to use that bot?
Yeah, so the question was how long I expect to use that bot. There are tricks that not a lot of people know, and if the Ether community, the Ether core team won't change anything in the Ether itself, I think it will be working till then. Of course, I guess that the bots will keep working until the Ether itself changes. So for example, if we implement like callbacks in the code, so a possibility to invoke code after, like, or a possibility to communicate with the outside world of the blockchain, then that bots will be gone because every exchange will have its own like system for matching, because that's where they earn the most money. But in the current implementation of Ether, I think the bots will still exist because there is knowledge for few people that can easily still earn money. Maybe not that much. You know, when new people come to the competition, usually the provision just goes down. So for example, just as I said, someone paid for gas $300 and he had an income of $3,000. So it was 10% of provision. And when a new person enters, it depends on how aggressively he wants to play. When I first entered, I wanted to cut the provision to around, I wanted to increase the those guys had a provision of 10%. I wanted to increase the provision to around 90%, so I had only 10% revenue from that, and because of that, I was kicked out of the market really fast because those bots, those people who are working on it are very aggressive when it comes to that, because they make a lot of money. Like I said, 30% of the whole traffic on Ether is going through Ether Delta. I've heard about numbers around few $100,000 a year for the biggest players in the bot market. Currently, the creator of Ether Delta earns around $100,000 to $150,000 a week on provisions itself. So, and when you meet the guy, you don't think about it. He's such a cool dude. Like, yeah, sure.
How long is your third version of contract is working?
Third one?
Yeah.
Third one is working since the launch of Byzantium. Because...
So long.
No, not long.
How can you share information how much Ether it did?
What's the percentage profitability?
It depends. If it has a good day.
When you also remove cost of fees and all stuff like.
It made money.
Net profit.
I can't tell that.
Okay.
I can't tell that. But it made money. It made money. But it's a lot of code. When I started, it took one day around 300 lines of code to do all the stuff. Now it's few thousand lines of code with checking the stuff, analyzing the current state of the blockchain, trying to go ahead, finding what's gonna be possibility, listening to if others participated in the trade. Like, there's a lot of code.
Do you have like a Ethereum miners? So you can quicker be...
No, I'm not big enough miner myself.
You can make a joint venture with other miners.
Yeah, you know, there's a possibility to like set your transactions up, because I'm not sure if everyone understands how mining works. Mining essentially means that I am the person writing to the database. So everyone sends to me their transactions, and I am the one who writes them to database. And because there are usually more transactions than I can write in one block, I can prioritize those transactions. And usually miners prioritize them by the gas. So gas cost. So if I say I'm gonna pay you $5 to put this transaction in the blockchain, and someone else says, I'm going to pay you $20, usually the miner will take the person who paid $20 because he earns $20 for that. But if he has an interest in prioritizing other transactions, so for example, say he has a transaction pending, he himself has a transaction pending for buying out a pair which earns him $3,000, he can say, okay, I know I paid $0.01 for that, but I'm going to put it at first place because I have an interest in putting it in the first place. Yeah?
My question is there about analyzing current state of not blockchain but transactions which are not included yet?
Yeah, pending transactions also.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm checking. you gotta check it.
That's why it's so complicated.
Yeah, that's why it's complicated. You gotta analyze this, and because currently the blockchain itself doesn't have a way to. I mean, as I said, people are not participating in those trades that I'm participating in. So usually those are contracts that participate in it, and unfortunately there's no way in Ether to analyze the data that's being sent through contract to another contract, so I gotta trace it all in real time. So there's also computing power involved that you have to take in mind, because usually you don't have enough time to do that. Yeah, so it's complicated. It's complicated, and the costs increased and the revenue came lower and lower, but it's stable now. Yeah.
Do you think about implementing machine learning or something?
I don't have the knowledge for it, but I imagine surely that if there is a bot that's using machine learning, because there's enough data, because you can easily get the blockchain and scrape all the data. It will take some time to do it, to synchronize to the newest blocks, but you can train the bot on that. I think so, but I didn't try it myself. I've heard someone is trying it, but doesn't have a working implementation yet.
And do you think to work on behalf of someone, to lend your bot? So I pay you money and you trade my money?
You mean when like the bot itself? I mean, you know, if I would be 100% sure, as I said, the version 3 is working since Byzantium, which is around 4 weeks, not a month or something like that, not even a month, just before leaving to Mexico. If I would be sure, maybe, but I don't want to crowd the market yet. I don't want to be the one who introduces outside people. And I mean, I am currently, but...
You are the inside one, I just pay you money.
Yeah. We'll see.
I will pay you in Ether to check your wallet.
No, I don't have it on this wallet. I mean, I have one wallet here, but it's not worth stealing this computer, really. You can go to jail and stuff. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Dzięki Michał za fajną prezentację. Dziękujemy za pytania. Możemy zakończyć część z prezentacjami. Fajnie, że wysłuchaliście wszystkich tak bardzo uważnie i było tyle ciekawych pytań. Możemy zacząć sesję networkingową i zapraszam do części kuchennej na pizzę. Chciałabym podziękować przy okazji za spotkanie naszym sponsorom, czyli Ragnarsonowi, Blockchain Weekly i nowemu sponsorowi CryptoRaport, który dołączył do nas od listopada. Dziękuję wszystkim serdecznie za uczestnictwo, dziękuję prelegentom, sponsorom. Zapraszam na część kuchenną.
Ja jeszcze mam 4 koszulki user feeds, jeżeli ktoś by chciał, tej firmy, dla której teraz pracuję, więc zostawiam je tutaj, proszę się nie krępować. Są tylko duże, a mają bardzo fajną jakość, więc kto pierwszy, to lepszy.
Ja myślę, że powinieneś się rozdzielić.
Nie, no mam 4, więc kto pierwszy też. Nie, bo jak ktoś nie chce,
to będą łapać.
tylko boję się, że... Ida. O.